I think I can safely say that I was one of the people that would have said, alcohol will never be a problem in my life. Day One of Sobriety is a nonprofit online presence where people can get resources, get information, find out how do they navigate becoming well. They're not going to be shamed. There's no condemnation. They don't have to hide. It's a safe place. I had experienced alcohol being a problem in my life as a child. And we hear of it following generations or being a family bloodline type of thing. And I just knew it was a place that I would never go, having experienced it younger in life. And at one point, I remember stopping and thinking, this has become a problem. But at the time that I identified that it was a problem, it had become unmanageable. I could drink I could go out and have a glass of wine. Wasn't a problem to go to a wedding. Drink socially. Had done that well into my 30s, but things changed in my early 40s. Things at home had become very stressful. And usually when things are stressful at home, they're not at work. Or when things are stressful at work, home's your safe haven. And it had changed where things were stressful at work and things were stressful at home. And about that time, I had been introduced to a new friend. She was not part of my work colleague friends. And I started after work, going over and just having a drink with her after work before I would head home. It was kind of like in between time, work was stressful. I knew I was heading home to a stressful situation. So I would stop and have a drink with her after work before that next part of my evening. And it just started off so innocent. And it was like I was telling myself, I needed this to shut off this part of the day and start this next part. And it worked for a while. It worked until I'd start in the afternoon about 2 o'clock, thinking about having that drink after work to prepare myself and get myself in the right mindset for what was coming later on in the day. And I really started to feel like I was robbing my family because I still had children. I had teenage children that I wanted to go home to and enjoy. And I was robbing that. I was robbing them of their mother. And I knew something needed to change. The hard part was I knew I had a problem. I had no clue how to start to change it. And I felt trapped. I felt isolated. I felt like I was in a desert all alone. And that's because when you're drinking and you can handle your alcohol, or when it's fun, or you're at a party, drinking is so socially accepted. It's almost, it's legal. It's almost an expectation. When you're putting on a party, you're expected to have alcohol there. It's just part of the party atmosphere. When you're celebrating, you celebrate with alcohol. And it's just become such a societal norm that people don't view it as a problem until you have a problem. And then once you have a problem with drinking, then you shut your mouth and you don't talk about it. Because alcohol is happy, alcohol is joyful, and that's where it's supposed to stay. But it wasn't joyful for me anymore. It'd become a prison. In my career, I was the person that got things done. I was the problem solver. I was successful. People looked up to me. People came to me. You wanted me on your committee because we got things done. It was just, I was good at what I did, and I was respected, and I think that's the word I'm looking for. I was respected, and I had worked hard to get to that place. I had built a career that I was very proud of. And you don't come forward and say, in a place where you're respected and counted on, that there was an area of my life that I didn't have control over and that I was failing at. Because there was nobody to talk to, I mean, yes, I talked to my family. But again, you've got those family members waving that finger at you saying, you knew you had a potential for this to be a problem. You should never have drank a single drop. And again, I was my own worst critic because I was the one saying, you knew better. You knew what this felt like as a kid. Because I didn't know where to turn and because I felt isolated, didn't have anybody to talk to, was so ashamed. I really spiraled down into such a dark place. And it's not that there was an absence of love. I had love for my parents. I had love for my husband. My kids loved me. But I didn't love what I had created. And it was so dark that I tried to take my own life. I didn't feel like I was a good mother anymore. I didn't feel like a good wife. I didn't enjoy my job. I was trapped in my job because of some circumstances and stress that had changed there. But in trying to take my own life, it brought the problem front and center. So because I couldn't talk about it, now I was in the psych ward. And to say those words, the psych ward, is just so, I'm hearing it in my ears. And it angers me. It angers me because an addict shouldn't end up in the psych ward because they don't have places to get help. But I felt I was committed that if I could help it, that wouldn't happen to other people. I mentioned feeling like I'm failing as a parent, and I don't think I'm failing as a parent. I know I'm failing as a parent. And I'm fearful. Not only I'm ashamed of where I'm at, I'm afraid of where I'm at. Because I have this great fear inside of the exposure that coming forward is going to cause me, but also is going to cause my family. I have teenage boys that I want to protect. And in trying to protect them, that secret gets darker and deeper. In all of my trying to keep it in an attempt to take my life and ending up in treatment and getting a DWI, it all came out. I publicly humiliated myself and forced humiliation and hurt upon my family. I would change that. I would go back and change that if I could. That person, though, doesn't exist anymore. I'm not that person. I'm not that mom. I have amazing children who said, people need help. Nobody deserves to go through what you went through. And there's got to be a different way. I am so proud of the men they are. And they're proud of me. Wow. There was a long time where I felt I couldn't go out in public. I might see somebody from work in the grocery store, and there'd be some people that see you across the broccoli, and you could see their face, and they would turn and run. But there would be some people who'd smile, and they'd almost pause, and you knew they wanted to come forward, and sometimes they didn't know what to say, but they were with you. That they knew what you were going through wasn't the essence of who you were. You were going through something tough, but it didn't identify who you were. You were still that person they admired. I got that most from the students that I had worked with in the past. They never turned their back. They knew who I was and what I had meant to them. And in fact, I remember being at home, just kind of getting my bearings after everything came out. And there was a knock on my door. And I went and answered it. And it was a student I had had in the past. And she's standing in my doorway, just sobbing. And she told me she was struggling with alcohol. And she said how when she had heard about what had happened, she felt a sense of relief because she didn't feel so alone anymore. And she felt that part of what she said is, if I knew I wasn't going to be able to make it if somebody like you had been taken down. She said, what chance did I have? And she just all of a sudden felt a place of belonging or a place of connection that she didn't feel alone. All that time when I was looking for somebody to just kind of connect with and not feel dirty and wrong and shameful, I had given her a person to look at and say, wow, that person means so much to me and that person did so much for me. I'm going to be okay. And she felt that she had to come over and share that with me and just connect with me. That felt good to get off my chest. Thank you for watching this story. We all have a story that needs to be heard. If you are currently struggling with addiction, check out the Day One of Sobriety website.
We have created Day One of Sobriety's nonprofit to bring to everyone an online support group.
We need you to get involved. Everybody knows somebody struggling with addiction, either personally, with a family member, a coworker. Day1ofsobriety.org is a place where people can plug in and not feel alone. They can find resources. That only happens if you continue to support. 100% of your proceeds go right back into the development of the Day One of Sobriety so we can continue to provide support and resources to help everyone live their best life. Thank you for supporting us.